This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express Monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's pod. This show for the week of December 23rd. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to those who are celebrating. This will be coming out on Christmas Eve, so an early Christmas present for those that watch and celebrate. And if you're watching, you see a new face on the screen. It's our guest for this week, Scott Carter, a.k.a. Tom Servo, who had an amazing trip report on the Discord server last month on his trip to Tokyo Disneyland, and he's going to share his trip report here, so we're very, very excited. This show should be split up, unless I screw things up through the whole show. It's split into two parts. Phil and I are taking a day off right before the new year. So this part one, we're going to go over, let's see how far we go, and we'll go from there. But that being said, Scott, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you joining the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to figuring out how you managed to take a trip to Japan and have a great time.
Yeah, because I know every time I've done the exploring it, it's like that sounds amazing. Like the kids get all excited about it, and then you start pricing out airfare and stuff like that, and you're like, maybe not this year.
The number one thing is don't have 3 young kids, and then you're good.
Okay, well then both Jason and I are out.
yeah.
No,
well, that's the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank
have
you,
your
everybody.
kids get older where they buy their own airfare.
Yeah. So before we get into the whole thing, first we want to welcome some new members to our YouTube channel, Moonbeam and Suds. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you join the Discord, join the conversation. Of course, all of our social media at the DBC Pod, everywhere you might find your social media happiness. But Phil, there is one announcement, one bit of news before we get to the trip report. What might that be?
A little bit of news broke that I don't know if anybody was expecting, although at the same time, everyone's sort of saying, why did it take this long? But it did come out that Disney announced that Bluey will finally be coming to Disney, both to the Disney Cruise Line and to the parks. This comes shortly after the announcement of the Bluey movie, which Disney is going to be out under the Disney banner. They've kind of acquired all the film and theatrical rights, so it's more of a full acquisition by Disney. So they announced it's going to start with Disney Cruise Line for cruises that are departing from Australia in January 2025, and it'll be expanding out from there. They said more information will be coming later about what it means for Disneyland and Walt Disney World. Josh D'Amaro said that Bluey has become a household name for families around the world, and we are thrilled to bring her story to life in new ways. We can't wait to watch our youngest guests and their families make memories with Bluey in our parks and on our cruises. So obviously everywhere, all social media and stuff, everybody was abuzz. My son, as soon as the news broke, started pricing out flights to Australia.
Although he's very good at that, isn't he? Yeah. Pricing out flights.
Although he was pricing out flights for 2. Apparently he was going with his older sister and not just the 2 of them. So,
okay.
So I was like, all right.
Do you have a passport, sir?
But what about you guys? What was your, your reaction, and how did the rest of your family react to this news?
I don't think I told my kids that this was happening, but they watch Bluey every day, and it's probably the only Disney character that they'd be super excited to meet at this point, other than maybe the princesses or something else like that. So, or at least the Disney Junior characters, because that's assuming that's where it's going to go in Hollywood Studios. Scott, are you excited about this? Are you a Bluey fan, or it's just cool to see Disney get some more stuff type of thing?
I'm not really. I missed the Bluey boat, I guess, because my kids are too old, so I never really watched it. I know I've seen a couple of them, but it's not something I'm excited about, but I'm glad they're finally doing something, because I know it's huge. They should do something with it.
Yeah, I one day I would love to see what those negotiations were to get those rights, because at one point Bluey's this is it. The owners were this is it. Once the voices get to a certain age, we're never going to do a new voices for it. And so it's there was. I don't know if you want to call it artistic integrity or what have you, but turn down a lot of money to not continue the cartoons, I guess. But now here we have movies and stuff, so I guess that's one last hurrah for Bluey. I don't know if there's anything else after the movie, but I guess we'll see. I don't know.
Yep. So where do you guys think do you think it's just going to be like a meet and greet and stuff like that in the park, or do you think they'll do something bigger than that and have like a mini land or an attraction or anything like that? Or is it really, they said for the cruise line there's a meet and greet and then there's like a scavenger hunt and dance party and stuff like that?
Sure.
Is that kind of the level you think of the parks, or are they going to go like, hey, if we gave all this money to get Bluey, we're going big and we're having attractions and restaurants and all that sort of stuff?
I don't think there's going to be an attraction. Obviously, meet and greets, because that's what we've been hearing
Sure.
about. And it's probably easiest thing to do. I think if the Bluey movie hits like $1 billion, and then there's another Bluey movie, and like Bluey's been around for what, like 4-ish years now, 3-4 years, something like that,
yeah.
right? Roughly, there's just been like 2 or 3 seasons. That's got like here and now power, but does it have like staying power? Is it going to be something that like kids are going to be watching 4 years from now? And if it is, I'm pretty sure if they have the rights, that a Bluey attraction would probably make sense somewhere. Where, I have no idea, but maybe in the Magic Kingdom somewhere, or maybe in the Australian pavilion that's coming to Epcot.
Oh, there you go. That's creative.
I would think if they did anything soon, it'd probably be like a Disney Junior tie-in over there in MGM.
Yeah.
I still
Yeah,
call it MGM.
probably.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the easy one, is that they swap out some of the meet and greets they have there and maybe update the show to be feature Bluey and stuff like that. That'd be kind of like the low-hanging fruit. So maybe they start with that, like to your point, Jason, and then we see how the movie goes, and they can always get bigger from there. Disney usually tries to make sure something's got some staying power before they invest, $1 billion into an attraction or whatever. But
So anyway, Christmas present for all Bluey fans coming to the parks to be able to meet him in person. I mean, I guess people that were at D23 earlier got to meet him. There was a little meet and greet. Was it D23 too?
I think it was D23. Yeah, that
So
they
I
had
guess-
the meet and greet for it. Yeah.
So I guess people got excited about that, and that kind of pushed them over the edge, probably. Who knows? All right, so Tom, you went to Japan. Overall, did you have a good time? Was it worth the money and the effort? Would you do it again? Before we get into the details.
Well, a few days ago, I booked flights for next year. So yes, I will do it again.
All right. So next year we'll have another trip report. Awesome.
Yeah.
You and Wheezy in Japan next year.
Yeah. It's same time. So the flights were much, much less expensive this time. So I saved about $600 a flight. So,
okay. Well,
and it's our 30th anniversary. So when I got that, I was like, well, we had a great time. So yes, that's why I'm doing it again.
All right. Well, maybe those are questions for at the very end. Then I got to make a note, like next year's trip. I'm going to scroll down here. So the first thing I want to ask, and Phil, this was your question, but I'm going to steal it. What got you thinking about going to Japan in the first place? How long ago was this? Just when did you get the bug to want to go over to Japan? Was it a quick little decision, or was this something that was like long in the making?
Well, it's something I've always wanted to do. I mean, I remember in the early days of internet looking at, Tokyo Disney and just like, oh, that'd be so cool. It seems so far out of reach.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say we got serious around 2018. And it just didn't quite work out then. And we were planning it, looking at it, and then the pandemic hit, and that just put it on hold for quite a while, because Japan was like the last place to open. So once Japan kind of opened back up and things looked fairly normal and the yen tanked, I was in.
There you go, like a good exchange rates there. So where do you start, right? Like, if I was going to go to Tokyo Disneyland, I'm expecting roughly, or at least probably, cheaper tickets and hotels compared to Disney World, or like at least on par. But the only thing that always pushed me back on doing is just looking at those flights. So how did you go about your research? Did you start with the flights and go from there? What was your process of getting prepared to book the trip?
Well, like I said, I think what really started me saying I got to do this was when the yen was like at its weakest in like 30 years. I thought it's not, the flight is expensive, but the rest of the trip isn't going to really get any cheaper.
Yep.
So I just decided, all right, we'll I'll swallow hard and I'll do the flight. The flight was like 60. We flew. I live in Fort Wayne. I don't know if this northern Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So we flew out of Fort Wayne, which is nice for me because it's only like a 20-minute drive to the airport. And the flight was $16.25 per person. That's just main cabin. You can select your seat and all that. It wasn't like the lowest level, but it wasn't. That was it. It was fairly basic, and we flew from Fort Wayne to Minneapolis straight to Tokyo.
Oh, that's not too bad. How long of a flight was it?
From Minneapolis, 13 hours, 15 minutes there, and about 10 hours back.
I mean, I've done 8-hour flights. I've done 8.5-hour flights. I can't imagine doing a 13-hour flight. I guess I could do that by myself, but having my family around with me, regardless if they're young or old kids. But that's quite a bit. So you got the flight locked up. Do you know a lot about where you want to go, how you want to do it, or did you book the flights and then start your research? Or actually, let me ask you this: how far ahead did you book the flights? Because you were there in November.
Yeah, I think it was about 8 months.
So once those
8 or 9 months.
Once the flights were booked, is that when you started your planning on? Because you have two parts of your trip. You had your non-Disney part, and then you had your Disneyland part. Did you have an itinerary that you wanted to do while you were in Japan already kind of set up?
Not totally. The thing I had, we had wanted time in Tokyo, and then there was a couple options to go outside of Tokyo that I hadn't decided on. And then to end, my plan was to end back in Tokyo doing Disney, and I wanted to end on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because those are the slower days at the park. So I kind of built the trip that way.
So where do you go? Phil, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Well, it's just when you were thinking about this and kind of trying to put everything together, what resources did you find the most useful? Did you listen to like podcasts or YouTube videos of people that did the trip? Was it just books and kind of other things like that? Or how did you, what research did you do and what did you find the most useful when you were trying to put together your itinerary?
Well, for the Disney part, you've had him on the show.
Oh, TDR Explorer.
TDR Explorer, yeah.
Yeah.
He's really great. He's got great resources, so he's a good place to start. There's no really great touring plans type of that I could find, that would be nice to have. But he's probably the best as far as English. There's something in Japanese, but I don't know. So he's great. Facebook groups are annoying, but they're good as far as people with boots on the ground telling you what's going on. So those are good. I'm in one big one, and like I said, it's annoying. It's the same questions, same things over and over again. But there's a lot of good information if you can filter through some of the annoyances. I watch a ton of YouTube's junk, so I don't know how much it helps me, but it
gets you ready though.
I'm like you. I'm a planner. I mean, I'm an obsessive planner. I don't obsessively make out itineraries, but I am. Once I start a trip, it's like almost every day I'm looking at something. I'm reading.
You got to prep, right?
Yeah. It's half the fun to me.
Oh yeah, for sure. Same here.
The anticipation, getting ready, because one of the comments you had in your trip report on Discord was you felt lost in one of the parks, and we'll get to that later. So when you're getting ready for, and Phil, you could start talking about this because we're going to talk about the non-Disney part of the trip and some of the tourist stuff and the sightseeing stuff that you were doing. How much were you? Maybe this is a poor choice of words, obsessing over the details of the parks to make sure when you got there, you weren't fumbling with your phone or a map or anything else. How much was that part of your planning, going to a international park to one that you're not familiar with?
I wouldn't say I obsessed over that stuff, and I might have I tried. There's always things that fall through the cracks, no matter how much research you do, that you miss.
Sure.
Because I'll probably mention a couple of those when we get to that. But I had a general plan for Disneyland that there was a few things that I just definitely wanted to hit in that park. And there's a lot of things that are repeats of stuff that we've all done before that might be slightly different that I wanted to do if I could, but there was just, there's a few things that I just had to do in that park. And then Disney Sea was just everything. It's just, it's all different. It was, I wanted to try and do as much in that park as I could. And I had general plans. We'll talk about the one day where it all just went to pop. It was try PG, but it was, that was rough, but yeah.
So,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, so you've been doing your planning. Facebook's helping you out quite a bit. But when it came down to actually like putting money down for a Disney vacation package, I believe that's what they call them, right?
Yeah.
How does that work? Do you just go right to their? Is it like you're planning a Walt Disney World trip, where you just go to the website and you book it? Like, was there anything different? What was that experience like?
All right. I wouldn't say another word again, but it wasn't great. Their site's not great. You can book a vacation package 5 months out. And when I start bringing up some of these things, they change. Like if somebody listens to this later on and they're like, oh, he's wrong now, because it changes all the time. But when I did it, and it's still this way, at 5 months out, you can book a vacation package. At 4 months out, you can book hotel onlys. And vacation packages all drop for 1 month on the same day. So like it'd be like the third of the month, 4 months out. It was always like the first Tuesday, I think, of that month, 4 months out. So then it's just a mad dash and the vacation packages drop at.
So in order to book anytime during a month, it's all on that same day. It's not like a rolling set of days, kind of like a DVC.
Yeah, for the vacation package.
And the vacation package
and that drops at 1 a.m. Eastern.
Oh, awesome.
Great.
That's great.
It's 3 p.m. their time, and that can vary too as far as Eastern time because they don't change time.
Ah, okay.
So it's 14 hours now difference. It'll be 13 hours, when time changes.
And a vacation package is a hotel and park tickets, correct?
Yeah.
Just like a Disney World?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I know this is different.
It's different. Vacation packages are like I stayed for 4 nights. My vacation package was for 1 night.
Okay.
So it included 2 days worth of park tickets. The first day is Disneyland, and the second day is Disney Sea, and there is no park hopping there now. There's no annual passes there either. So you get 1 night, and then you have to book your hotel around that. So I've booked my vacation package for 5 months out. Now my hotel only package is 4 months out, and it's every day a new day opens up. It's not the whole. So you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I stayed at the Disneyland hotel. So I booked there's like 8 different categories of rooms at the Disneyland hotel.
That's not complicated.
Yeah. So then when I booked my hotel, I had to book the same category of room before like 1 day before. I had 2 nights before and 1 night after to kind of complete my stay. I know it's great. So
if you're only listening and not watching right now, I have a lost and confused look on my face at this point.
Yeah, it's so. And then like I said, if you don't want to switch rooms, even in the same hotel, you have to make sure that you're booking the same class of room. So you got to,
I guess.
Yeah. So
why is a vacation package just 1 day? What's the difference between like a hotel stay and a vacation package? Is that just a mystery?
They do a lot of weird things. It's
okay.
Different culture. I don't know.
Yeah. I think part of it why you wanted to do the vacation package was related to access to Disney's Fantasy Springs, right? And
I would have never done a vacation package, I don't think, if this trip didn't coincide with Fantasy Springs just opening up like 3 or 4 months before,
Something
4 months
like that,
before.
yeah.
So you don't just get entry into Fantasy Springs. You have to either book a DPA, which is like an individual lightning lane. Disney Premier Access is what they call it, but it's definitely it's basically an individual lightning lane, or a standby pass, which is just access to the standby line
to get into the land.
Yes, or you can get mobile order, and you can get into the land also. But you can't ride anything. Like if you get a mobile order at one of the Peter Pans where you eat at Peter Pan, you can go there and you can look around, but you can't ride anything. You can't get in line for anything.
Huh.
So,
so the vacation package was to make sure you got to see what you wanted to see. That makes sense.
It gives you what they call the Fantasy Springs passport, that you get unlimited rides to all the rides through the DPA line, which is basically through like the Fast Pass or the individual Lightning Lane line. Okay. You can just keep going on and over and over and over again.
If you have the package and you have for that one day.
If you book the Fantasy Springs Hotel, that pass was you could buy that pass through the Fantasy Springs Hotel. So that's the first thing I tried to book the Fantasy Springs Hotel, but it was impossible. They were gone in like seconds, and the site is crashing. Things are moving slow.
Well, and especially if you have to organize doing a vacation package and then organizing 2 nights before and 1 night after, that would have been a complete nightmare if that got screwed up and you got stranded in a random hotel. One hotel and you had to go to the other hotel to do.
Yeah, a lot of people will do that. Well, they'll get a vacation package at like the Maricosta or the Fantasy Springs, because you can usually get a vacation package at those hotels. But it's very, very difficult to get a hotel only at either one of those hotels.
That makes sense. Okay.
So I actually first had one at Maricosta, but I dropped it because there was no way I could book around it and stay in the Maricosta. We'd had to been jumping around, and I wanted to be able to go back to the room for a break.
Sure.
Not be like, all right, we're in between hotels. We can't. We checked out of the one. They're very good about moving your stuff around and all that. But you have to pack everything. Mm-hmm. But there's that 4-hour window where you can't go anywhere because you checked out of the one. You can't check into the next. So I just wanted to stay in the same hotel. So that's in Disneyland Hotel provided me the ability to do that. It was easier to book the rooms there rather than the other ones. The reason the Disneyland Hotel doesn't book as fast as those is mainly because they've dropped the happy entry to Disney Sea from the Disneyland Hotel. So if you stay in the Disneyland Hotel, you don't get early entry or what they call happy entry into Disney Sea. Okay. And that's like, if you can get that 15 minutes, it doesn't sound like much, but if you can get that, it makes all the difference in the world in booking and getting into Fantasy Springs, because you beat the crowd. You beat the crowd, and it's a huge difference. People line up. We'll get into that.
We'll get to that part. That's going to be a big part.
My last question, because I want to go over. I'm really interested in about like the rest of your trip before you even got to Disneyland and everything else like that. But before we get into that, I want to know why November out of any other time of year. Is it something because of work? Is it because of flights? Why did you choose that time of year?
Like if you research like the best time to go to Japan, the fall is always one of the top times. People always tell you, "Oh, go in the fall. Go in the fall." Either that, or like the spring is also very popular with the cherry blossoms, but it's also extremely busy, and there's a lot of schools off and things like that. The parks are extremely busy in like March and April, so I wanted to avoid that. May is really good as far as going to the park. There's a thing called there's a holiday called Golden Week that ends like end of April, beginning of May. It's always falls in there, and it's like a whole bunch of holidays that fall together, and it's like everybody's off. So if you go right after that, that's usually a pretty good time to go too. And then the summer is like hell. Sorry. it's Orlando. From what I understand, I've heard people say it's worse than Orlando in the summer.
No kidding.
July and August in Tokyo, or I didn't want to deal with that. So
okay, so November was
and
a
then
good time to go.
The winter is slow, but it's the winter. It's cold. It's cold there. It's gonna get 40s, 50s, canned snow.
Fair enough. So I believe your Disney trip started on a Monday. When did you arrive prior to that?
So we flew out on a Thursday. This was end of October.
Mm-hmm.
And so you actually get there on Friday because of they're 13 hours ahead. So you lose a full day. So we flew out like at 9 a.m. and we got there at like 2 p.m.
The next day, though.
The next day, yeah. So we got there on a Friday, and we went to Tokyo from there.
So Phil, why don't you take it away about the non-Disney park?
Yeah. So first, one kind of related question to this, but it might also have something to do with some of the Disney stuff. But if you could just maybe take a step back and talk about like who is in your traveling party besides yourself.
I totally forgot about that part.
And
Thanks, Phil.
And also sort of like what priorities each person had. Like what did they most want to get out of this trip? So when you're putting it all together, obviously your opinion matters a lot, but there's also other people's thoughts. So I was kind of wondering who was in your party and what were their priorities heading into the trip.
This my wife, my daughter who's 26, and this was always like her thing too. She loves Japanese culture, anime, so she had always wanted to go, and she speaks Japanese fairly well. I mean, I think she speaks excellent, but she can get by pretty well on her Japanese. And then my nephew, who was 20, it's my brother's son, my older brother's son, who had never traveled out of the country. So this was his first.
Interesting. First place to go is Japan.
Yeah. So he's a great kid, and so it was those are the four of us, and that's who went. And as far as you ask about what everybody wanted.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, I know whenever I plan the trips, like with my family, I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do with this that we've never done, or what's kind of a key priority for you? So obviously I know like with your daughter and the anime stuff, maybe that played a role of like what you wanted to see, but like kind of when you're putting together the schedule and the other people chimed in, what were some of the priorities or things that you knew you had to fit into the schedule?
I think I have an interesting group in that they're like, they would just let me do everything.
Oh, okay.
They were fine with that.
Easy. All right.
My daughter had one thing. She wanted to go to the Ghibli museum.
Okay.
And that was the one thing I couldn't get done. That's another thing that like I got on it. The tickets for that dropped for the whole month, and I got on. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I get on, and I was like, they put you in a queue, and it doesn't matter when, and then it just randomly selects. And I should have had like more devices going. I had a couple to go on. I think I was like 600th in line.
Oh wow.
Or something. And by the time I got in, you'd see something, and by the time you click on it, it'd be gone. And so we did. That's the one thing we didn't get. That was the one thing she wanted to do that we didn't get to do. And I would ask her, she's like, "Oh, she wanted to go to Harajuku too." I don't know if you're familiar with Harajuku. It's a street with a lot of like kawaii style, cute style stuff, and it's very touristy. But that was something she wanted to do, so that was the one request she had. And my nephew was just like, whatever, he was just glad to go. So he didn't. And my wife,
country before, so he's like, I don't know what to even think. Yeah,
my wife, one thing we did for this trip, and I do for any trip I travel like internationally, is I use Google Maps, and I go through and I save. I have like 90 saved places in Tokyo. So my wife and I tried to I told my daughter, she's like, oh yeah, and then she never did anything. But my wife and I had places that we saved. My wife's very artistic, very, so she wanted, there was a lot of things that she wanted to do. She loves, tea shops. She's very into tea. So she saved a bunch of those places. So those are some of the things that she really wanted that we went to.
Okay. So now you said you arrived on that Friday. and I assume that was into Tokyo. And
Yeah.
sort of like, where did you start? So you got there. How was the travel experience overall? I guess talk about your flights and kind of, have to get minute by minute, but just was it sort of what you were expecting, and did it go well? And then kind of what did you do when you first landed?
Well, the flight was it's a long time on a flight. It's rough.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Our plane configuration was 2-4-2,
Mm-hmm.
2. So we took, 2-2 right in front, one behind the other on one of the window sides. So
Okay.
we had, which was nice. 2 people each have, you're not crawling over. So,
Yeah.
but I sat on the end, and about every hour I would get up and I would just kind of stretch and walk for like a couple minutes. And so, but yeah, that's a long time on a plane. There's just no getting around. After about 8 or 9 hours, you're like, is this ever going to end? Because it feels, I think I watched like four movies. I don't know. So the main thing I realized on the way back is don't put your backpack in the seat in front of you. Pull that up, put it up above. It gives you like just a couple more inches of leg room. That made a big difference when you move that.
Sure.
But it's a long flight. And I don't sleep on flights at all.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've learned in a lot of my business travels that as soon as it takes off, I can snooze right away.
Yeah, I can't.
Somehow I've learned that skill. I don't know where it came from. I used to never be able to do that.
I wish I could. So that, but it works out okay when you're arriving. By the time we get there and everything, the night comes and you're exhausted and you kind of get into the rhythm. But no, I got a taxi. You could take a bus and that would have been cheaper, but with 4 of us, it's not bad. Taxis aren't cheap there. I think it was like $50-$60 to take a taxi. But that took us directly to our hotel, where if we would have took the bus, it would have took us, we stayed in Shinjuku. It would have took us to the station. Then we had like a 10-minute walk to our hotel, carrying all our bags, but the taxi just took us directly there. So that
I think it was $50 Uber just to get from MCO to Animal Kingdom Lodge when we were there a month and a half ago. So $50 is not too bad for a taxi.
Yeah. So we stayed in Shinjuku. Shinjuku is when you think of Tokyo and you think all the lights and that's Shinjuku.
Yeah.
Okay. You ever see the Shinjuku cat, the 3D cat billboard?
Oh yeah.
That's when you get off the train out of the train station. That's like one of the first things
It's right
you
there.
see.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. Shinjuku it's the red light district too, so it's fun. But it's all pretty tame there. It's just a bunch of people standing outside late. We weren't out late at night that much anyway, but no, so we stayed at a hotel there. Hotels can be a little bit difficult for 4 people.
Okay.
They have if you're just like, if there's 2 of you, it's great. I mean, finding a hotel for just 2 people, there's just tons of hotels like that, and you can stay super cheap. But for 4, it gets a little bit more difficult. But I found a nice place in Shinjuku. We had 4 separate beds, sort of thing, and it was about $200 a night, so that wasn't bad.
Okay. And so that was your first night you arrived there. Did you go out and explore right away, or were you just kind of crashing and kind of like, we'll reset for the next morning?
Once we got it, we put our stuff away. We walked down and we walked, my daughter wanted curry, the Japanese curry. There's a little place called Coco Curry. It's a chain. So we went down there, walked down there, and it was excellent. It was really good. And we had curry, and that's right in that. You ever see the pictures with the Godzilla in the background? He's above the.
Oh yeah.
That was on that street. So we ate there. We went out and we got some pictures. I got a picture of I used to give my daughter piggyback rides all the time. So we got a bunch of pictures of her on my back, and with like Godzilla in the background. Every time we went somewhere, I throw her. She'd jump on my back, and
that's a fun tradition.
Yeah.
And did you find getting around relatively easy? Obviously, it probably helped a little that your daughter could speak Japanese, but do you think for somebody who maybe didn't have any Japanese speakers with you, would it have been fine getting around if you knew where you were headed?
Yeah. Once again, Google Maps works great in the city, especially for when you're taking trains around. It'll tell you exactly like when you go into the Shinjuku train station is insane too. It's the busiest train station in the world. I think it's 3.5 million people a day go through that train station. And it's like a mile long. Something. It's huge. It's 3 times as many people go through that train station in one day as the busiest airport in the world. So
I can't even fathom that the scale of
Yeah,
humanity that's going through that.
but everything is color. There's all these different lines. Like a Yamanote line is the main line that kind of does a big loop and hits all the main areas of the city, and that's like yellow or green. So when you say Google Maps, I want to go here, and it'll tell you what line to take, what platform, and even what train card to get on, so that when you get off, you're at the closest one to like exit and leave to where you want to go. Like if you get on the right one, like you'll get off and there'll be stairs right there. And like, oh, that also helps because, it wants me to take these stairs.
Yeah.
So you go down the stairs. But we never got on the wrong train, so
It's a bonus.
it can be a little bit overwhelming, a little confusing at first, but once you kind of get the hang of it, there's the signage is all in English along with Japanese. So
okay.
it's fairly. If before like Google Maps and that, I would have been. I don't know how it would have been rough, but with the tools you have now, it's not too bad, and it's very cheap you get a like if you have an
ask if you get a pass or if it's
you
just
get
built
if
into
you have an
your
iPhone, you can get it right on your phone. It's called a Suica card, and we all had iPhones, so we just used that. And you just tap in, and then when you leave, you tap out. You have to tap out so that it knows how much to charge you.
Okay, so it's like
like you tap in, and then at your end, once it knows where your end destination is, it'll know where you went and what trains you went on, and it'll charge you. But it's usually like $1, $2, $3 to get wherever you're going. It's really cheap.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just, and when you take your phone, and I use my Apple Watch, had it on my Apple Watch, you just tap. You don't have to like bring up the card or anything. It knows. You just and
that's nice.
You walk
like
through. Yeah.
A Tokyo Magic Band.
Yeah.
Apple Watch. There you go. Perfect.
So what was your next full day? I guess this would be Saturday. What were your kind of key goals and what did you do that day?
We went to Akihabara. Akihabara is sort of like it's electric. It's called Electric Town. So it's a cool little part of the city. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite place we went, but it's a lot of anime, a lot of stuff. So both my nephew and my daughter will really like it, and so we went there. We did a lot of shopping and yeah, that day that was pretty. I'm trying to think what we did because we were there for 5 or 6 hours. It's just a lot of walking. It is a lot of walking, and they don't believe in benches or trash cans. It seems like you can't find a trash can anywhere. The only time only place you really find trash cans is like you find a 7-Eleven or like any convenience store. You go in there and then you can get rid of your trash, but you have to carry it with you.
Huh.
Yeah, there was some thing where somebody used their trash cans for some kind of poison gas or something, sarin gas or something years and years ago, and they removed all the trash cans and they've never put them back. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, which is interesting because the city is very clean, but there's nowhere to throw your trash.
So but people are carrying it around.
People are really good at carrying it around. Yeah.
Did you start that part of your trip early? Like, did you get up and like eat some breakfast and then head out, or did you kind of ease into you getting out there?
I was up at like 4 a.m. I was up early a lot. I had a hard time getting out of that, waking up 4, 5, 6 in the morning. 6, if I could sleep into 6, I felt great. So I was up before everybody else. So I just went out for a walk. And like I said, Shinjuku is it gets kind of a little bit wild at night. Nothing's too crazy in Japan, but so I'm walking around and the trains stop running at 1 a.m.
Oh,
and they
okay.
start back up at 5 in the morning. So if you're out and you miss the last train, people just stay out all night and they're out till 5 in the morning.
Huh. Okay.
Or they go get a room or something. And so at 5 in the morning, there were still people out from the night before. I walked around. I got offered like 4 massages, but I'll go get some ramen. And I went to Ichiran, which is a very popular chain there. And there was a line at 5 in the morning for ramen.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. But, I waited till everybody else got up and then we went to there. But for as far as like breakfast isn't really a thing there. They don't really eat out. You can't, there's not like even their pancake places a lot of times, because they're known for like these big fluffy pancakes. They don't open till like 11.
Brunch.
Yeah. So our breakfast normally was something from the convenience stores, usually an egg salad for me. I love their egg salad sandwiches were like out of this world at 7-Eleven. I could, for like $1.50, it was like
Done.
so good.
So did you do anything else for the rest of the day there after that?
Oh, we came back. We kind of hung out Shinjuku a little bit more. We went down to a little place that was just down from a hotel, ate there, got some ramen. This was probably I'm a big ramen guy. It's probably the worst. It was the worst ramen we had the whole trip. It was just okay. But mainly we that day we spent in Akihabara. We saw the anime stuff is like out of this world, and then we went to a big Akihabara is an electric town, so it's known for like electronics. Okay. So we went to this place called Beak Camera, and it's like 6 stories, and it's just all different electronics and different like if you're into cameras and that sort of stuff, it was.
So then I guess that finishes your Saturday there. And then on Sunday, did you have more touristy stuff in mind, or were you just kind of doing some quick stuff and then prepping to get over to Disneyland?
No. Sunday was I went to a place called Meiji Shrine. This is like a huge like park over by Harajuku, Shibuya area. And this is really one of the highlights. This was something that's like, oh, this looks like really cool. And it's like you walk out of the city and suddenly there's just this huge ginkgo trees, and they're like, they just cover the whole pathway. It was just beautiful. And we got there. I wanted to get there when it opened at 9. When we got there, because Google Maps said it opened at 9. When I got there, and they said they'd opened at 6. But so we beat most of the crowds because this was really cool. And there was like weddings going on at this shrine. This is like one of the most famous like shrines in Tokyo. But that was absolutely beautiful. And but from there we went to this is my daughter's day where she wanted to go to Harajuku.
Okay. Yep.
Because Harajuku, we walked into the shrine or into that area, and we walked all the way through, and you came out the other end, and that was Harajuku. So, and Harajuku was packed. That was a Sunday too. We were at first it wasn't too bad, but as we were there for a while, it got pretty packed. But that's where like a lot of the girls dress up, and you see them, like their little, the little cute different outfits and anime outfits and stuff. So that's sort of that's how it started. Now it's become more touristy because everybody wanted to go there because this is where the teenagers go. But now it's more of a tourist trap. It wasn't my favorite spot, but my daughter went. She wanted to do a bunch of like secondhand clothing stores there and she did a lot of shopping there. And then from there, we wanted to get sushi, but the place we wanted to go, I should have got reservations. I didn't, and it was like a long wait. So I was like, forget this. Shibuya is right next door. Shibuya is another extremely popular area. Shibuya Crossing is the crossing you see all the time where like 3,000 people cross the street at one time, all different directions. So we went over there. We went to Ichiran to get some ramen, and it was an hour and a half wait. That didn't really help me. I went from one wait to the other. But they had they did a where they gave you like you got an hour and a half. You need to come back, so we didn't have to stand there. So,
Okay.
So that was nice because a lot of these places you just have to queue. The Japanese are professional queuers. They're great at it. So then we went from that area is where like the Nintendo store is. There's a One Piece store that my nephew really wanted to go to, so we went there. Pokemon store. I bought some Pokemons for one of my nephews who's like 8. So bought a little Pokemons for them there. That was really busy though that day. It was a Sunday, but the Nintendo store and the Pokemon store are like, everybody wants to go there.
They're mobbed, right?
Yeah, they're. And then I think my wife did she went to some stationery store or something over there. I never can keep track of whatever she's doing. But then we went to eat, finally and there's a Disney store. There's the really cool, I don't know if you went through my trip report, you see the one picture of the Disney store that was really cool. That's in Shibuya. It's a really cool facade anyway. Okay. So we went there, and then it was time to eat. Get Ichiran. Ichiran is the place where, I don't know if you've ever seen its individual booths.
Oh yeah.
And you don't actually ever see they do a lot of that ordering on. I think I put it in there. I see you're looking up.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
I may not have it here, but you order on a vending machine. It gives you a ticket. You go sit down, and you don't ever actually see the people. They have you're in your little booth, and they have a little roll up thing. They roll it up. They take your ticket. They roll it back down. When they come with your food, they roll it back up. They hand you your ramen, and they do a bow, and you just kind of, the idea is you're in your own little world. But that ramen it's just a chain, but that ramen was so good. But
now I'm hungry for some ramen.
I know,
ramen forever.
So good. That's a pork tonkatsu.
I just have leftover pizza in the refrigerator. I'm like, I gotta eat now, but I'm hearing ramen. I'm like, that's no good. That's
make some ramen.
Yeah. I just don't. If I had the noodles, I would attempt it, but I don't. So basically, it sounded like your weekend in Tokyo was just full of like seeing the major sites that you wanted to see, doing a lot of shopping, and just kind of being part of the folks or part of the people that just going around the city.
Yeah, and the one other thing we did do that day that was a major thing was Shibuya Sky. That is a observation deck right above where the Shibuya crossing is. And we did the Shibuya crossing and all that, silly stuff. And this is something I had to book ahead. It was like $30, I think. I don't remember. Maybe it's more. Maybe it was 17. It was like 17 per person. You go all the way up to the top. I can't remember, 46 story. I don't remember what it was.
Lots of stories.
Yeah, it's a very cool observation deck. If you look on social media, it's all over the place on social media. But the idea was book it about 3:40 and be able to see sunset and then the night. And it rained. So it was still really cool, but we didn't get to really see like the sunset and stuff because it was cloudy, and then it rained a little bit, and then it quit raining. But we got some really, really cool pictures up there. It was really cool. So, but after that, we pretty much called it a night after we came back from Shibuya Sky.
That sounds like an awesome day in the city. So you stay there one more night. You wake up the next day, and this is Monday. And I believe in your trip report, you said you didn't get over settled into your room to around like mid-afternoon, around 3:00 or so. So what was it like getting out of your hotel? And
no, we're still in Tokyo.
Okay,
we're in Tokyo for Monday and Tuesday yet.
Oh, okay.
So. And then from Tokyo,
my day's all messed up.
Yeah. Then from Tokyo, I go to Takayama, and then from Takayama, I end the trip at Disney. But then this Monday was we can wrap this Tokyo up pretty quick here. Monday the real highlight was Team Labs, and that is like the pictures of. It's a digital art museum.
Okay.
So you go from room to room. It's just there's mirrors all over. It's some great. It was awesome. This was really probably the highlight of Tokyo. This
I'm just looking at some pictures, just like on a Google image search. It's like it seems like it's all digital, big giant screens, and
and the art moves through the different sounds. It all moves through the
that's really
whole
awesome.
complex, and it's just like an explorer. There's not like a linear path, and some of the rooms are hard to find. You can miss them, so you really got to kind of search for it.
Sure.
And we got there. We started there right at 9, so this was right when it opened. So that was nice. It wasn't. It's one of the things you book your time slot, but you get there first. You don't have anybody that's been there, so you have kind of the free reign of the place for an hour or so before it starts. But this was really cool because my wife kind of she understood kind of where we were going, but the kids had no idea what we were doing, where we were going, and they were just like blown away. So this was really cool when you plan something like that, and you really see, your family just like, wow, this is amazing. My nephew kept saying, "Oh, thank you, Uncle Scott. Thank you. This is so awesome." So this is a really cool day. I just think I looked at this. I think this Disney needs to like team up with these people and do something where the stupid, NBA thing used to be, and put something like that there or something. It would be huge at Disney World if they did this. It is a really, really cool.
Seems
really
pretty
fun
wild.
thing.
How long did you spend in there?
About a little over 2 hours.
Oh wow! So it's not like a quick walking in.
No,
So
there's rooms all over the place. Like the one room, if you look it up online, you see all the balls. I don't know if that room, you could only stay in that room for 5 minutes because it's so popular. They don't really kick you out, but they ask you. This is Japan. They don't ever make you do anything. They politely ask you to, 5 minutes, okay, and then you leave. So we went in that twice, but that was really cool. That was a lot of fun. And then, I'm trying to remember what we did the rest of the day. I went and got ramen again.
Well, okay, so this was the day before you started the Disney portion of the trip?
No,
we had another stop.
Okay, so this is Sunday. You're finished.
And then we still have. No, this is Monday. Okay. Tuesday, I go. We still have another whole week before I get to Disney.
Oh my goodness! I completely missed that when I'm running.
So Tuesday was just more of a pickup day. We went back to Shibuya because, and my wife did some some shopping around Shinjuku. We didn't do anything major, but we had was that the day we had this beef cutlet meal that was amazing, a little 10-seat. That's the other thing. All these places, and most of these places, like especially ramen places, they're like 10, 12 seats. So really joints, limited. Yeah. The food in Tokyo was just out of this world. It was so good and so cheap. It's like everything I can't eat here. And Fort Wayne's fairly a reasonable place to live and to eat. I'm in the largest city in the world, and I'm eating like for half the price I would here. And the food is so good there. Convenience stores are great. I love the convenience stores. So, but then
nicer than the 7-Elevens or whatever we have.
Yeah, right? I wish they would fix our 7-Elevens because those things were awesome. The food was so good. But then from there, we went after we left. So we leave Wednesday and we go to Takayama. Takayama is sort of in the middle of the country, and this is out in the Japanese Alps, sort of out in the country. It's sort of most people when they go to Japan, they go to Kyoto.
I'm
but
just
Kyoto
looking at your pictures now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Kyoto is like really one of those places that's suffering from over tourism really bad. And my wife doesn't do great in crowds anyway, so we knew this was going to be a lot of crowds. So we wanted to get out and get away from the crowds a little bit. So this Takayama was like a alternative, sort of like a lot of older, that older, what they call Edo time of from Japan, where you got the old buildings. It's really beautiful. And when we're out there, we go to a place called Shirakawa-go. I don't know if you look at the pictures, that's where the A-frame, like cool A-frame type houses. That's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's really, that was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But yeah.
So how many days were you out there for then?
We were there for 4 nights, though, like 3. So we took the bullet train from there to Nagoya, which is kind of halfway between Tokyo and Osaka, and then straight north on another train, a slower train, to get to Takayama.
So you spend 4 days out there. Is it like you spend time in town, going to like restaurants and shopping, and just kind of doing some like nature type of like walks and checking out the sites? You said it's in the country out that way.
I mean, this Takayama is still a city of about 100,000 people, but it's got a small town feel. But yeah, it is a tourist spot. But it was really beautiful, very laid back. This is one thing, if someone wants to go to Japan, you got to get out of the city and go to someplace like this, someplace that's out of the way. It was awesome. That was one thing I wish I would have done, is spend a little more time someplace like that. But that was really, really awesome. They have a lot of good street food and stuff there too.
Would you say that was basically your vacation and a vacation before your Disney sprint and you're running around a busy city? Yeah.
And that was one thing that was also nice there. It's like I got a really good deal on a hotel there. It was like $125 a night, but it was the largest place we had. It had a full kitchen. It had like different bedrooms. It was right next to the train station. So that was nice to have a little more room too, because 4 people, everything's everything's smaller there, there's not as much room. So from there we went back to so we were there till Sunday.
Following Sunday. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So we took a train back. I had a day in between before our Disney trip started, and that was in Asakusa. This is where Sensoji Temple is, if anybody's interested. That's like probably the most famous temple you'll see in Tokyo. But I really, really love this area. If I had to do it over again, I would have stayed there. I really like Shinjuku, but this like the back streets around the temple area, which is what it's known for, it's just mobbed. But when you get around the back streets and stuff, it's a lot of really cool back streets, really great places to eat. I really enjoyed that. And that's also a great place for families, because that's one of the few places that has a lot of like hotels with larger hotel rooms where you can find places to stay.
So after this point, then you start transitioning to the Disney portion of your vacation, right?
Yep.
So what was that like? So you just spent a week essentially, 8 nights at this point, right? You got there on Friday.
5, 9, 10 nights.
10 nights. So you've had this amazing, I guess, cultural experience, right? You're in the countryside, you're in the city, but now you're heading towards something that might be familiar, but totally not be familiar with a Disney park. At this point, are you like tired, or is the excitement mounting for the Disneyland trip? What are you kind of feeling in your head at this point before you get there?
Honestly, I'm feeling a little guilty that I'm out here in Japan having this incredible experience, and I'm going to Disney. At this point, this is how I kind of felt. I was like, man, I feel a little like there's so much stuff we still wanted to do, we didn't get to. I was like, was this the right call? Sort of thing. Spending 4 of my days at Disney. So that's a little bit how I felt at the time.
So you left. How long did it take you to get from? I can't pronounce it. Where you were to get to the Disneyland hotel. What was that transition? How long was that? Like on a Sunday, right? You were there on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to get set up?
Well, Asakusa is part of. It's just another region of Tokyo, just part of Tokyo.
Okay.
So we just took a taxi.
Okay.
Let's say one thing we did do that night. We packed really light. Just one carry-on, one backpack, all of us. And before we left Asakusa, we went to there's a famous place called Don Quixote. You see it all over the place, but it's this awesome store that they're all over. They're huge. We all went down there, and bought suitcases. we bought 3 suitcases to be able to take back all the stuff we had. So we had bought so much stuff between the 3 of us that we filled all 3 of those. I think I bet we spent about $100 on Kit Kats alone. Yeah. I brought back 19 different flavors of Kit Kats.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Kit Kat's my son's favorite candy, so that's
he would go nuts there. It's just it's endless variety of Kit Kats. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I was actually going to ask you about that with all the stuff you bought. I guess that you opted to buy more suitcases and then bring them back. I didn't know if they had ways to like box it up and ship it back or something like that.
I think there are some places that will ship. At this point, I mean, the suitcases weren't that bad. I think I paid like 70 or 80.
Yeah, I didn't know how much it would be for the flight though. I know sometimes that can be.
Well, we get with the flight when you fly international like that, you get like
it was included. You
you get 2 checked bags. We didn't even check bags on the way there. That wasn't
a no-brainer then.
That wasn't because we didn't, we couldn't, but we had our bags checked on the way back.
Okay.
I think what we'll do if next time I go is we'll just take a suitcase and put it inside of a suitcase.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're going to take a break here. We're about at the hour mark. I didn't want to do this, Phil, but I always say, we'll only talk about 20 minutes before we get to Disney, of course, and the whole show goes by, and we're not even at the Disney portion of the trip. So we're going to split the show up here. Next week, right before New Year's Eve, we'll have part 2. But stay tuned. Thank you for watching, listening, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Take care.